Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about mixed methods for UX analysis as a part for Teach for Indonesia campaign powered by Bina Nusantara University. A quick introduction, I'm Valen Yulani Liman and I'm a student from Bina Nusantara University online, majoring in information systems, and my student number is 250-214-1164. Today we're going to talk more about mixed methods for UX analysis so that by the end of this video, viewers will be able to identify, compare quantitative and qualitative UX research methods. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. I think everyone who clicks on this video probably already know what is UX analysis, but just so we're on the same page, UX analysis is the process of collecting and evaluating data about how users are experiencing and interacting with a system, and using that data to later further enhance the user's experience using the system. Why is it so important to analyze UX? It is because it reveals users' behavioral patterns, it reveals users' pain and friction points in the user journey. And this is important because by analyzing and revealing these behavioral patterns and the pain and friction points in the user's journey, we will be able to avoid making wrong decisions, wrong design decisions. Especially as a developer, we would be able to take into account what the users tend to like from the sample base of the users that actually use our products. And therefore, this also reduces the cost of expensive redesigns and optimization that would be needed if we make those wrong decisions. So this is very important not only on an academic level, but also on the business level, on the day-to-day life, real-life usage of UX analysis. User experience itself directly impacts retention, conversion, customer satisfaction, and technology adoption rates. This is also important when you are trying to introduce a new product. So one of the methods that I would like to propose for this is a mixed methods. Mixed methods is a research term. It's an analytical approach to integrate and combine quantitative and qualitative methods in order to draw the strengths of each method. So this approach utilizes data of both types, and therefore we would be able to facilitate a more comprehensive understanding of the problem. And if we understand the problem more, we would be able to also find a solution that is better fitted for the problem. Find a solution that actually works to solve the problem that users are facing. So in order to apply the mixed methods, we have to understand what quantitative and qualitative methods that we can use to analyze UX. Here I have a short list. There will be more out there, and you will be able to research it on your own, but this is just a start up in order to see our options with regards to what are the quantitative and qualitative methods that we might be able to mix and match in order to fulfill our objectives in researching and analyzing the user experience of a certain system. First of all, we have the quantitative methods. Quantitative research is a methodology used to collect and analyze numerical data, identify patterns, make predictions, and generalize findings about a target audience. So you go to quantitative methods in order to answer questions like what, or how many, or how much. Numerical data. It's very easy to present. It's very good if you want to present it to a stakeholder because usually it's a lot easier to digest and understand. So here we have some options for quantitative methods. We have SUS. It's a very well-known, standardized 10-question survey on the Likert scale, scoring usability from 0 to 100. It's one of the most widely used tools in UX research. And then we have UEQ, which is User Experience Questionnaire. This is a wider tool compared to SUS because it also covers hedonistic qualities and not just usability. It also measures user perception across 60 dimensions using opposite adjective pairs on a 7-point scale. There's also the option of UEQ Plus and UEQ-S, which is a modular and short-form variant of UEQ that can be used depending on time constraints and scenarios. There's also NASA TLX, which measures perceived workload across 60 dimensions: mental demand, physical demand, time demand, effort, performance, and frustration. And it is very useful when evaluating something that is more cognitively demanding. That's not all. We also have NPS, Net Promoter Score. This is just the usual, do you recommend this or not, yes or no, This is very, very often seen in a lot of different websites or platforms or applications. Very easy, but it's also very surface level. There is also task success rate and time on task. So it's the basic question of, did the user complete a task and how long did it take? There's also A/B testing, which is when you have two different design variants and you test their usability with subsections of your users and see which one is more favorable to your users. There's also web or application analytics. There's a lot of different platforms that offer these things like click-through rates, bounce rates, and drop-off points. This is very often in website analytics as well, and this would be one of the most familiar way of UX analysis for a lot of people, aside from the Net Promoter Score. Especially if you work in the UX and UI spaces, these two would be something that you're very familiar with. Now, continuing on, we also have the qualitative methods. So first we have the think aloud. We have concurrent think aloud, or CTA. That is when the user is asked to verbalize thoughts in real time while doing certain task scenarios, unfiltered in the moment. And there is RTA, which is retrospective think aloud, which is when the users complete the task first and then report the experience afterwards, so it's not as disruptive to the task completion time, but it relies heavily on memory. There's also heuristic evaluation, which is an expert review against the usability principles, and cognitive walkthrough, which is a cross-functional team steps through each task, assessing it from a new user's perspective. The two last one, heuristic evaluation and cognitive walkthrough, are expert reviews, not user reviews. There's also user interviews, where you interview the user one-on-one, have a one-on-one conversation, explore your motivation, pain points, mental models, and then there's also focus group, which allows you to have a broader discussion across a bigger sample of users. There's also diary studies, which is really good if you're trying to study a system for a longer period of time. So after the user familiarize his or herself with the system more, if there's any changes to the way that the user uses the system and how the user experiences the system. Contextual inquiry, which is observing the user in their natural environment while they work. So that's a lot of methods, right? The bad thing is, every method has a blind spot. The good thing is, every method has something that it excels in. Quantitative methods tend to tell you what is happening, and qualitative methods tend to tell you why it is happening. So if you mix and combine both of them, you will be able to get a more comprehensive understanding, because the quantitative provides a statistical validity and the qualitative adds the depth, the detail, the reasoning of why the statistical validity happens. When designing or evaluating a software, you would ideally want to understand both of the patterns and the human experience behind them. So how do we choose our methods? We choose our methods by trying to list what questions are we trying to answer. Are we trying to fix something that we already know is wrong with the system? Or are we trying to know how many users are experiencing a certain pain point? It's a different thing. Or are we trying to know why a lot of users drop off a certain point? What stage are we in the development? What are our constraints? Are we able to get more people, or are we able to get more time in trying to analyze our user experience, our system? So it's worth noting that if you are a little bit confused on what to do, if you have a lot of doubts, it's very, very much recommended to use 2 or more methods. And the reason is because nearly all projects benefit from a multiple method approach, because that would mean multiple angles to look into the problem and multiple ways to understand it more thoroughly, more completely. It's easiest to understand by doing, so let's look at a case study. What if we need to evaluate an AI-based application? For example, it's Grok, the generative AI chatbot LLM from Twitter or X. And we need to understand how usable it is and why the users experience it the way that they do. We might be able to use SUS and CTA. Why? Because SUS is widely validated since the 1990s. It's quick to administer, it's very low burden on the participants, and it's easy to benchmark and analyze it because it results in a score. There's a formula, it results in a score. And why CTA? Because we need to capture the real-time data without the memory bias, even if it might slow down the task time for the users. And therefore, it's more revealing than interviews because users are actively engaging with the system while verbalizing their thoughts and pain points. Therefore, we would be able to fulfill the two research objectives of knowing how usable it is, statistically using SUS, and then why and how the users experience it the way that they do, using CTA. Now, another good question might be, how do you actually combine two completely different types of data? Because quantitative is all about the number and qualitative is, words, sentences. And the short answer is you don't merge the data itself, you give both sets of data equal priority and bring them together in the interpretation phase, where you compare, you contrast whether they are converging or diverging, whether they have the same conclusion or different. The integration that happens at interpretation level happens primarily through narrative. So you have to first analyze the statistics of, for example, from our case study earlier, SUS. If you're using SUS, we're going to have to count the SUS scores. We're going to find the mean, the standard deviation of the SUS scores that we just found and collected. And then we're going to want to also analyze the CTA, whether it's through audio recordings, screen recordings, transcribes. We're going to want to analyze them both separately. And then we're going to bring them together in the interpretation level through narrative, describing the findings of both quantitative and qualitative together on a team-by-team basis, letting each one inform one another. And if it converges, that means you have a more solid understanding of your problem. Congratulations. And if it diverges, that is another interesting way to open up more research into the system that you're trying to analyze. The goal is to identify unexpected or extreme results in the quantitative data and use the qualitative data to explore them further. So that has been us talking about mixed methods in UX analysis. There's no single right or wrong way to analyze UX because everyone has different needs, every system is also different, but the mixed methods should be able to help you to get a more comprehensive picture through multiple angles. Quantitative answers how much, how many, what, who, and it's easier to present. Qualitative answers the why, the how, and it's a more in-depth understanding through the user's journey. You can choose your methods based on your research goal, your research questions, your needs, the system's condition, and your state or your stage of development, or your time constraints, your cost constraints. Obviously, when the findings converge, you have more confidence in your conclusions. When they diverge, that becomes another thing that you can investigate in order to better your system even more. All of this we do because analyzing UX is all about understanding human users. It's not just about collecting or analyzing data. These are the sources that are used in this presentation. Please read through them if you want to, in order to understand in more detail about the materials. And thank you once again for watching this video. Stay healthy, stay blessed, and see you next time.